I'm Steve Flocky. I'm one of the Associate Directors of the Prevention Research Center. This is the last for this year's seminar. We're excited to have presenters here from Burten Bell Carr. But before we introduce our speakers, I'd like to make just a few announcements. We do not have a seminar in August. We take August off for a summer break. We will start back up in September. In September, the second Wednesday is September 14th. I have that correct. And we have a special event on September 14th. We are doing a half-day dissemination for the PRC focused on food and food access and food environment. We'll get more information out about that soon, but just wanted to give you a heads up. In August, we'll also release the upcoming seminar series for the entire year. We go from September through July of the year, so we'll be able to share with you upcoming speakers and topics. I also wanted to mention that our seminars are recorded and that the presentation and the recording, the dialogue with that, is on our website. It's prchn.org. You can find it there. At that site, you can see all of the presentations that have happened in the last couple of years, along with the dialogue that goes with. We like the format that we're doing now, and that you get the presentation and the narrative that goes with it. So if you're not able to join in person, you can catch up and hear that awesome talk that you missed on that day. Our seminars are always Wednesday, the second Wednesday of the month at noon, and we are delighted to be able to provide a light lunch for you to encourage your participation. We are live tweeting. If you are a live tweeter or you want to share pictures, comments, it's hashtag PRCHN seminar is the hashtag to use for that. You should expect in the next couple of weeks a survey about our seminar. We'd like to get a little bit of feedback from you all and to know where we're going with this in terms of what you like, what you'd like to see, what you're gaining from this, and your recommendations. That'll be going out to everybody who has attended a seminar or is on our invite list. If you didn't sign in, please do that for us to track who's coming. If you're a new attendee, with future announcements, not only about seminars, but other events that are going on at the PRC that you may benefit from. Okay, so with that, please join me in welcoming our two presenters today, Sherita Mullins and Jeff Sugalski from Burten Bell Carr Development, Inc. It's been a long time coming and getting this presentation on the books. I'm so excited to hear the whole story as opposed to bits and pieces, but they're going to share with us a healthy food access initiative, broadly speaking, from this work. And I guess we're going to tag team, and Jeff is going to go first.
Yep.
Thank you, Jeff.
You can grab a seat if you want. Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeffrey Sugalski. I'm Real Estate Development Director of Burten Bell Carr. And I'm here with Sherita Mullins, Director of Social Enterprises for our organization. And today we're presenting our Healthy Food Access Initiative. First of all, I want to tell you a little bit about Burten Bell Carr and what we do. We're the nonprofit community development corporation that serves the Central and Kinsman neighborhoods of Cleveland. Over the years, so we were founded in 1990. We have a full-time staff of 10. We've developed over 1,000 units of affordable housing over the last 15 years. We've developed about 50,000 square feet of retail and commercial space. We've redeveloped hundreds of acres, repurposed hundreds of acres of vacant land in our neighborhood. And we've also done programming, services, administration. This is really a slide that I really like to include in all of our presentations. It shows basically everything that we do, and there's more to it, but community organizing, new housing development, market rate housing, public housing development, foreclosure prevention, retail development, master planning, community engagement, walking clubs, all sorts of stuff. Just to tell you a little bit about the neighborhood we serve, our neighborhoods are on the southeast side of downtown Cleveland, right outside of downtown. Our service area is about 4 square miles. Cedar Avenue is the northern boundary. We go up to about 79th and Cedar in this portion, all the way down to 102 and Union Avenue, if you know where that is. There are 18,000 residents that live in our service area, 94% of which are African American. We have a poverty rate of about 70%. The median household income is $11,700, so it's pretty low. 84% of the housing in our neighborhood is rental housing, and we have 1/3 of all public housing in Cuyahoga County concentrated in the neighborhoods we serve. And a big thing as a community development corporation is that we have probably the greatest concentration of vacant land in the city of Cleveland, which is an opportunity but also a liability as well. I'm going to tell you really quickly about the Kinsman neighborhood, and that's where our Healthy Food Access Initiative is focused. Kinsman, now we have a different definition from the City of Cleveland Planning Department, but generally using the Planning Department stats, there's 7,000 people who live in Kinsman. The poverty rate is about 52%, 68% of housing is rental housing in the neighborhood. Median household income is about $16,000, and about 1/3 of residents don't have access to a vehicle. So I'm going to start talking about the Urban Agriculture Innovation Zone. I'll improvise. But first of all, I want you to keep this in the back of your mind. The nation's largest shift in population was the Great Migration between 1910 and 1940. Cleveland's population increased about 60% in this period between 1910 and 1930 from African Americans relocating from the South to northern cities like Cleveland. So everybody keep that in the back of your mind. And they settled in the Near East side of Cleveland, like the neighborhoods we serve, like Cedar, it's the Cedar area, Central. So I want you to look at this image. This is an aerial map from 1950-ish. I know it's a little fuzzy, it's just the technology of the time, but I'm looking for 2 main observations from you all. What strikes you looking at this map?
Lots of housing.
Lots of housing. Yep, that's one. That's great. What's the other thing? Anything stand out to anyone? I know it's tough to see. Railroad. Yes, yes. Okay, good. Good. So the railroad industry actually recruited African Americans from the South. It was one of the industries that recruited people. And with this was one of the busiest rail lines in the city of Cleveland. So a lot of families were moving here to work on this railroad. And some of the families were subsidized to do so. Were given transportation up north, low income or low cost housing, and relocation assistance. So this neighborhood became a thriving hub around this railroad over here. So the neighborhood was really dense, there were a lot of rooftops, a lot of families here. There were businesses in the neighborhood that supported the railroad or were supported by the railroad. One of the residents I actually spoke to, longtime resident, told me that there were piano repair shops and there were fur shops in this neighborhood back in the 50s and 60s. So it was an upper middle class neighborhood, working class neighborhood that was really thriving. Jobs were plentiful, people walked to work. So here's the same neighborhood in 1970. What do you see here? The railroad's gone. And there's less housing. It's really hard to see, but there are more vacant lots over here. So in the early 1970s, the railroad closed, and it was really devastating for the neighborhood. A lot of the businesses left. They followed the railroad. This wasn't an advantageous location for them anymore, basically. The residents followed to get employment because they didn't have much in the neighborhood. The businesses left. Residents couldn't sell their house because of redlining, so they ended up abandoning them. The houses would deteriorate. They get demolished. We'd have vacant land. So that began a cycle of 30 or 40 years of abandonment and vacancy, demolition, vacant land. So as people left the neighborhood, what happened was there was less of a focus for services in the neighborhood. The quality of services greatly declined in this area. And soon, with less people keeping an eye on the streets, there was illegal dumping and other issues that had to be dealt with. So here's an example of the decrease in quality of services. In 1976, there was a fire that burned down 28 homes, and the city of Cleveland could not extinguish the fire because there wasn't enough pressure in the water in the hydrants to put out the fire, so it just spread. So that was basically what had become the neighborhood. So this is the neighborhood in 2005-ish, 2010, somewhere in that range. But you can see over time this neighborhood that was successful and thriving and robust is mostly vacant land. I'm going to show you another picture of the property ownership. So the green parcels are vacant lots owned by the City of Cleveland Land Bank or the City of Cleveland. Yes, you have a question?
Tell us what those streets are.
Oh, sure. Yeah, sorry for not doing that. East 79th Street, Kinsman Road. If you know CMHA's headquarters, CMHA's new headquarters is right here. And then this is the Rapid. This right here is the East 79th Blue-Green Rapid Station.
What was where the railroad used to be?
It's like a powerhouse. It was like a chemical company. It was a chemical company that was built around the 70s or sometime around then.
Empty now? Is it empty now?
Yeah, it's vacant land now. It's like capped. It's a capped brownfield. But all the green is owned by City of Cleveland Land Bank or the City of Cleveland in the case of Otter Park right here. There's a little park. The gray indicates vacant land that's privately owned. And this map may be a little old, but you get the picture though. You get the picture. The crosshatch are tax delinquent. And the red were at the time foreclosure eligible. So you see that about 85% of this neighborhood is vacant land, and of that 85%, about 3/4 of it is owned by the City of Cleveland Land Bank. So that's when I say vacant land is both a liability and an opportunity. You know, this is prime for redevelopment, but we don't know what kind of environmental conditions are. So here's a picture, or I have a few pictures that I'll show of the neighborhood. This was around 2007, 2008. You can see vacant and abandoned houses. All of them have been since. Remnants of the old neighborhood. These depressions are foundations that were not removed. The houses back in Cleveland were just demolished into the foundation and covered over. So when you see these depressions, that's the building materials still degrading underground. So you can see that there was a house here, here. So it's sort of rural in character, isn't it? Some more houses that were demolished, more foundations. And then there was a brick recycling yard around there, likely operating illegally. A gentleman just cleaning bricks by hand and selling them by the pallet. That was happening in the neighborhood, I think, until about 2007. So the most important thing for a community development corporation to do, and the most important thing for you all to do, whether you are doing a major project or hosting a dinner party or a birthday party, is to create a plan, right? You need to have a plan before you go in. For community development, what we want to do is create a plan that has community input. Otherwise, our efforts will not be successful. People will not embrace what we're trying to do. They won't buy in, they won't support it. So we actually posed the question, what do we do with this neighborhood that's got this large tract of vacant land? What do we do with this? And we posed this to the neighborhood through this master planning process for our whole entire neighborhood. This was Shiloh Baptist Church in 2005, I want to say, the basement of the church. We had about 40 people that came. But we found that the residents of this neighborhood liked the rural character. It was quiet for the first time. They wanted to preserve that rural character and maybe have a little bit of housing, but they liked the space. They enjoy a lot of what the neighborhood has become. So here's just another picture of what the neighborhood looks like, all that vacant land and all that opportunity. So one of our planners took that into consideration and thought up an interesting concept to do an urban tree farm in this site. The idea came out of an institution around here purchasing trees from Georgia and paying a lot of money to ship them up, this specific tree. So we're thinking, why can't we use this land to start an urban tree farm, create jobs for people from the neighborhood, reuse the land, sell the trees to CMHA or Cleveland Clinic or Case or even the city of Cleveland for street trees, because a lot of the trees are purchased from Lake County or Geauga County, and that money is leaving Cleveland. So we got the money together to do a feasibility study on an urban tree farm. And it turned out that the urban tree farm concept was not feasible. Anybody have any ideas why? The environmental conditions? That could be dealt with generally.
Air quality.
Air quality wasn't one of the findings of this. Water wasn't one of the findings either. I'll just tell you, the two things were that this project we wouldn't have the economies of scale as a large tree farm, 100-acre or 500-acre tree farm. They have some huge economies of scale, and we'd be competing, operating a 20-acre tree farm. And the other item was, everyone knows how long it takes to grow a tree, 3 to 5 years. So that's 3 to 5 years of pumping a lot of capital into this project before we even make a single dime. So it turned out that this was something that we couldn't necessarily take on. However, about the same time we were wrapping up the feasibility study, a group called Riddall Green Partnership came to us and said, we have roots in the neighborhood, we grew up here, we're interested in urban agriculture, we're backed by Will Allen and Growing Power out of Milwaukee, and we're really interested in being here. So we kind of entertained their idea to start an urban farm down here. And this is what it's become. Now the photos are slightly old, but they still capture a good picture of what's happening down there. So these are 3 entrepreneurs. They're named Riddall Green Partnership after the main person. He has an exterminating business called Riddall. So he's the main investor, and he carried that name over to Riddall Green Partnership. But it's a series of hoop houses, greenhouses. I'll show you some pictures of what they do. So they do, in one of the greenhouses, or a couple of the greenhouses, they do aquaponics. So they have tilapia in these big giant tanks. And these fish are fed duckweed that grows on the pond behind this building right here. And the fish waste gets pumped up to these tomato plants and lettuce plants up top and fertilizes them. And it's this interdependent system that's completely amazing. And then the pumps are run by solar power too. So here's some of the tilapia. Every time you go for a tour, they put the net in and they pull out the fish and show you. And here's one of the pond in the back and the duckweed growing that's fed to the fish. Then they do composting too. Some of the best compost you'll find in Northeast Ohio is there. They sell it. It's called Black Gold. They sell it for, I think, like $15 a pound. So it's really expensive, but they do composting for the the food bank. The food bank was actually making a delivery, and this gentleman let me photograph him throwing rotten heads of cabbage and lettuce into the compost. But the city of Cleveland brings mulch by that they use in the compost cycle of trees that were torn down. Here's a vermiculture bin with some fish, or not fish, but worms, doing composting. More of the aquaponics system. Now, hundreds of pounds of tilapia, I have the 2012 statistic, 350 pounds of tilapia were created this year, or that year, in 2012. Of the compost, 1,200 cubic yards of compost, I'm sure that's double or triple now, with them going at full cylinder. 1,400 pounds of produce. There's a wide variety of produce that's very fun. On site, here's a teepee. What they did, they had weddings on the site, they had art shows, walking paths, amphitheaters, their comic books, they do plays, they brew their own beer, they've had weddings. I don't know if I said that before, I think I did. But here's a couple of Cleveland.com articles about them. You can look them up if you search the archives. Pretty good stuff. But these guys have been so successful that they're planning an expansion across the street from their site, and that we've helped them to secure a lot of that land. This is their vision for the project, a big greenhouse, training center. But 4 years later, it's slightly different. That's the building going up. I actually took that photo yesterday. Yep. Our other partner in the Urban Agriculture Innovation Zone is the Kinsman Farm. That project was funded by a $1.1 million grant from the USDA's Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program that was given to OSU Extension. I don't know if anyone's here from OSU Extension, but here's just the headline of the article, new $1.1 million program to create urban farms in Cleveland's Kinsman neighborhood. So there's Kinsman Farm. Basically, entrepreneurs take a class through OSU Extension. It's called Market Gardener Training. And at the end of the training, they take they complete a business plan if they'd like a 1/4 of an acre plot of land. And that business plan is vetted by a committee. And if it's approved, then the entrepreneur gets a 1/4 of an acre plot to do whatever in their business plan. And over the years, we've had a lot of diverse participants in the program, neighborhood residents. We had a gentleman with a horticulture degree and an MBA, a lavender farmer, a chicken farmer, a vegan cook, and then we've also had nonprofit and governmental organizations. More pictures of the Kinsman Farm. There are 12 spaces, 12 1/4 acre plots for entrepreneurs to take a plot of land. And our demonstration gardens, or there were demonstration gardens where produce grown is donated to local food banks. So here's a picture of the chickens. Fish and chickens in Kinsman. Maybe that's what the presentation should have been called. But they had OSU Extension, they were doing beekeeping to help with the pollination process. So what's our role in the process? There are about 5 things that I came up with and how we support the development of the Urban Agriculture Innovation Zone. We promote the district. We try to attract resources there, facilitate future development, site assembly, land acquisition, and also act as a unified voice for the district. When we need the city's ear, we act as that entity that convenes everybody and tries to affect positive change. So this is an example of one of those things. The City of Cleveland partnered with us, I want to say in 2012, to receive a grant from Scott's Miracle-Gro and the U.S. Conference of Mayors to do this 20-foot-high sign that indicates that the Urban Agriculture Innovation Zone is here. Because if you ride down Kinsman, you wouldn't be able to necessarily see it. So we wanted to bring awareness and promote the district. So I said community engagement is really important. We actually engaged the neighborhood and asked them, what kind of sign should we do down there? What kind of identity should this Urban Agriculture Innovation Zone have? So this is a community meeting we had across the street from our office in Heritage View Estates. The residents are reviewing this plan, which unfortunately hasn't come to fruition yet, but elements of it have in the sign. So here's the sign that marks the ag zone. We have grape arbors, little blue stem, blueberry masses, and fruit trees. It's been a very successful project. And here's just another picture of all the land and where the farming is taking place. So I want to show you a few more things on the Kinsman farm. One is that we partnered with Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District to do stormwater capture, reduction of CSO, combined sewer overflow. So we ultimately are trying to keep Lake Erie clean. And this was the master plan that the sewer district prepared in partnership with us back, I want to say 2013. But today, this was actually taken yesterday as well. The sewer district's investing $5.5 million. They know that this is an important project for our neighborhood and that this is a good opportunity to pair stormwater diversion with urban agriculture. So this is actually an outdoor classroom. This is a pervious surface. So we can have community meetings here. We can have workshops. The opportunities are limitless. But this area over here, you can take a glass of water and just pour it and it percolates right into the ground. So it has like a built-in educational focus to it. And then this is right behind it. This is one of the large retention basins. All of the sewer pipes, the stormwater is channeled to go into these large retention basins and just allowed to percolate into the ground slowly rather than shock the system and have wastewater dumped into Lake Erie ultimately because the water treatment plant can't handle heavy rain. So I just want to kind of talk about a couple more things. There's some lessons that we learned through this whole process in initiating the Urban Agriculture Innovation Zone. One is to be bold. And we never thought multiple years ago that urban agriculture would be successful in our neighborhood or it would be something that we want to pursue. But we were open to a new opportunity, and ultimately it worked out to be kind of like a national model in some cases. Plans change often, so be flexible. That's a really big one. Sometimes implementation and finding resources takes a long time. That's a huge one as well. Rough spots happen. Be prepared to adjust accordingly, and that's any program. And community engagement, cultivating a sense of ownership. If that's one thing that you go home with today, that's probably the biggest point from our perspective is community engagement is key for any project that you do in the neighborhoods. Urban agriculture, is it worth it? Some of this is personal opinion, some of this is sort of the organization's findings. So in our case of the Kinsman Farm, it's difficult to be operating a quarter of an acre plot of land and to have that as your sole source of income. It's almost impossible. So a lot of the farmers are doing this as a second job or a supplemental income. As a result, it doesn't seem like there's a lot of activity happening in the neighborhood, so it's not lively and robust when you go to the ag zone typically. If you go in the evenings or if you go in the early mornings or the weekends, maybe that's a little different, but when we go during the workday, it's pretty quiet, and we don't see too many people out there. Urban agriculture does create somewhat of an unsightly appearance too. So it's not like, what you visualize as something that's like pristine. It's not that. farmers are trying to get their crops going and may leave some weeds in between, but overall, it is what it is. We've had reasonably high turnover in the Kinsman farm as a result of the factors that I mentioned already with it's being a tough job. It's labor intensive, it's resource intensive, you got to invest your money, and you, as a small farmer, you simply don't have the economies of scale as a large farm. It's just tough to make it work. And farming, this is more of a personal opinion, but I think that there needs to be a policy change to encourage more housing development in the neighborhoods rather than agriculture when we're building housing on virgin green fields and farms out in the exurbs. I think that's a really important thing that we need to remember, is that our region is growing, our population is not growing, and the urban agriculture innovation zone could be an interim use while we are trying to do a longer-term plan for housing or economic development in the neighborhood. Yes.
Sort of to address that question, have you guys thought in terms of co-op farming, which would draw people and better, pardon my mouth, not judgmental, better use of the land?
Sherita, can you answer that?
I don't think we have considered that, but that's an option. Right now, with the Kinsman Farm, you have to go through that market gardening training. That makes you eligible to apply for the land. But right now, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's time for more. We need to think about other things because, yeah. So maybe we can be open to that idea. Right now, like our farmers, they have a full-time job, so they do this on the side, and they don't have the time. A lot of times, they don't have enough help to even manage a quarter-acre of land. So if it was a co-op, maybe that can address that situation. So yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Jeff.
We can answer more questions too at the end of the presentation.
I'm going to try to put this mic on. So Jeff talked about the Urban Agriculture Innovation Zone, which is in the Kinsman neighborhood. I'm going to focus more on our Healthy Food Access Initiative that's both in Kinsman and the Central neighborhood. So in the same time frame that we were working on the Ag Zone, we were thinking about how can we look at a comprehensive view of health in our neighborhood. So back in 2010, our first campaign was called the Active Neighbors, Healthy Neighborhoods, Active Neighbors for Healthy Neighborhoods campaign. So this is just a picture. I have a lot of photos. We decided to pick an area in the Central neighborhood. It's called the Reading Garden on 40th and Community Central, where we just basically once a week we promoted to come out, the residents to come out, do yoga, Zumba, different activities, active activities, and also we had food, healthy food, a DJ. So every week for 12 weeks, we say, you know what, just come out like a block party. And so we didn't focus on health, but you know, all the activities were related to health. You know, so that was our first effort to just to start thinking about it and encouraging residents to think about incorporating health into their daily activities. So these are just some of those. So also in terms of fundraising, after we received the grant, we came back to we talked to the state, the city, local funders, and foundations, and we leveraged the money. We got $759,000 from the federal government, and then we raised a total of $1.25 million to do this whole project. So first is Cornucopia Place. I don't know if you've been there, but it's located in our Bridgeport Place on 72nd and Kinsman. We use it for health and wellness education. Our staff, we do not teach the classes. We rely on partners to come in and to teach the classes. We have Building Healthy Communities. I don't know if you know Sharon Glassy, but she has the Garden Boys. She comes in, she works well with youth. So she does all of our youth classes, ages 7 to 17, and teach, she focuses on education at their level. She uses the USDA a lot in my plate and things that they can grasp. Okay. Another partner is Tri-C. They do education for seniors. We have partners. A few photos here. Some of our seniors. And we also use it for just meetings. It's a multi-purpose space. Residents can come and hold a meeting. And in the back, we have a harvest prep area, so farmers can come and prep their produce for like a farmer's market. Our goal is to have the space used every day, all day. That's our goal. So this is an example of a meeting. And that's just a picture of the back, the harvest prep area. Next, we have Bridgeport Cafe, which is right next door to Cornucopia Place. Like I said before, this is our alternative to fast food. And when we did our series of community meetings, we asked, what would you like to see on the menu? You know, residents, they picked the logo, the name of the cafe. We wanted to make sure that it was something that they can participate in and also see their feedback within the space. So these are some photos of it. One resident said that they wanted lobster on the menu. So we knew we couldn't have lobster on the menu. So what we did was we put lobster bisque as a soup. So we did our best to incorporate their ideas into the menu. And this enterprise created 10 jobs for the neighborhood. We tried to employ residents from the neighborhood. So right across the street from Burten. Next is our Bridgeport Mobile Market. This created 2 jobs for residents in the neighborhood. But like I said before, transportation is an issue. So this is a 16-foot box truck, refrigerated truck, that we use to go throughout the city of Cleveland. That's a photo outside. Our primary target are senior citizens because we know that they have the biggest issue with transport produce. We get our produce from from the terminal year round. But during the growing season, we partner with farmers to have local produce in the truck. Linville, we partner with them. They have a few farmers markets. The Garden Boys. The Kinsman Farm is not a whole lot of activity right now, but before we use their produce. But that's our goal during the growing season is to use local produce. And we have incentives for Orchard Extension. I don't know if you've heard of produce perks. Well, we accept those, and also produce prescription. From the truck as incentives to not only to encourage healthy eating, but also local farming. So that's another photo. Let's see. Trying to think of some other, in terms of other partnerships. Right now, there's a need for more partnerships in terms of classes, so I just want to open it up to you. Like if you know any chefs, or if you are really good at working with youth, we are looking for opportunities to have more cooking series. I have a flyer here. oops. I have a flyer here about just the overview of Cornucopia Place and what we do. And also, this is an example of a new cooking series that we're going to have. But we're always open to new ideas. So if you can help pass those out. And this is our new schedule. We just came out with our new summer schedule for the mobile market. New on the schedule is Carr Alliance. That's in the central neighborhood. But if you have a site that you're interested in having the mobile market there, we're open to adding. As you can see, Thursday is open. But our target is areas that are food deserts, or again, senior citizens that have that transportation issue. And you have a question?
Just, is Burial Partners on that list?
No. Where is that located?
Up at the top of Bear Hill and Martin Luther King,
Oh, okay.
just behind Benjamin Love Institute. I'll talk with you later about it.
Okay, please do. Please do. Right now, I think we have around 15 sites, and we also go to like festivals and community events throughout the summer. But yeah, let me know if you have interest in the mobile market. What else I would like to? That's about it.